Today I will show you how to solve problems using tables and graphs. We will be solving graph problems first using the graph right here. Our first problem, 19, about how much more chocolate per person is consumed in Switzerland than in the United States. Before we start solving, we need to look at the graph. The first thing that we can note is on the x-axis, it is pounds per person. On the y-axis, it is the different countries that we will be comparing. The first important thing that we should note is that it's pounds. This will be important in making our answer proper. Another thing that you can note is how it goes 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. Right here is obviously going to be 11, 13, 14, 15, etc. Now that we know what's on the graph, we can start solving the problem. If we read our problem again, we can see it says about how much more chocolate per person is consumed in Switzerland than in the United States, and I'm sorry for my bad highlighting. So now we know which two areas we're comparing, and on the graph it is the top and the bottom. So as the problem said, we are comparing Switzerland and the United States. Now the first thing that we should see or look at is Switzerland, since it has the greatest, and we're comparing Switzerland and the United States. So, if we look, we can see that it is past 20, but not yet past 21. So, it is somewhere in between 20 and 21. We can see that's already past the halfway mark, and if we split it into 25 and 75, that was a really bad line. I am very sorry about that. You can see that it's about 75. So the pounds per person consumption in Switzerland is 20.75 pounds per person. If we look at the United States, we can see that it is past 11, but not yet past 12. Again, we can split it into 50, 25, and 75. Again, very bad lines. And we can see it's about 75, which makes everything easier, so it's at 11.75. So now we know that we have 20.75 and 11.75. So now we're seeing how much more chocolate per person is consumed in Switzerland than in the United States. So we have to do subtraction here. So we know 0.75 minus 0.75, that obviously equals 0. So now we only have 20 minus 11, which is simple math, so that will equal 9. So our answer is 9 pounds per person. So question 1 is solved. Now we need to look at question 2. Question 2 is about how much more chocolate per person is consumed in Norway than in the United States. So again, we are comparing the United States at the bottom and Norway, which is the one above it. So we are comparing Norway and the United States. So again, we already know that United States is 11.75. So now we need to solve for Norway. And as you can see, it is past 17, but not yet past 18. If we divide it, you can see that it's about the 0.5 marker, because if you go in 0.25, it's too small, and that's not even close to 0.75. So we know that Norway is at 17.5. So now that we know what our two answers in, we're going to have to do subtraction again. So now we're seeing how much more Norway is than United States. So we know Norway is 17.5, and now we're minusing 11.75. So easily, right off the bat, we can do 17 minus 11, which is 6. Now we need to do 0.5 minus 0.75, and we're going to get a negative number. So 0.5 minus 0.75 equals negative 0.25. So now we have 6 minus negative 0.25, which will equal 5.75. So now we know it's 5.75 pounds. That's a way off writing in the weight, and now we will go to our next question. The next question is, how could this bar graph be misleading? So, if we take a look at a crooked bar graph again, we can see Well, the information is right. It could be wrong, but we do not know that. So, let's look at the y-axis. Everything's alright, it's just a country, everything's spelled correctly, everything's at the right area as far as we know. The title is alright. Let's look at the x-axis. We see 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. But right here there is a skip between 0 and 10. That is our misleading area. Because if we drew it all out like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the bar graph would stretch much longer and it would just be harder to read and it wouldn't be as fun. So that is how our bar graph can be misleading. Alright, so now we know how the bar graph can be misleading. This will skip right there. And we're not going to draw another bar graph. But the way you could make it misleading is taking out that gap and going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 4, 6, just going like that. Be simple. So we know all of our answers. If this problem is done, we are not going to do tables because I lied to you at the beginning. That is it. Have a good day.